Hello everyone. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and let's go.
He believed his decades of loyalty built a fortress, only to discover that the threat had been living comfortably within his inner circle all along. Let's break down the psychological blind spots that cost this man everything, so you can spot the betrayal before the trap snaps shut. Listen, I've spent 20 years in the car business. In Oklahoma City, if you want to move a Ford F-150 off the lot, you learn how to read people. You look at their eyes, the way they hold their keys, the way they hesitate before talking about their credit score. I thought I was the best at it. I thought I could spot a lie from a mile away through a dust storm. But when it came to Patricia, I was as blind as a newborn pup. We had been married for 12 years. Patricia was 42, but she looked like she was 25 and headed for the cover of a fitness magazine. She lived at the gym. I am talking 6 days a week, 2 hours a day. She was all lean muscle, tan skin, and high-end Lululemon gear. Every time we went out to the Mahogany Prime Steakhouse, every head in the joint turned. I loved it. I was the guy with the trophy wife, the big house in the suburbs, and a bank account that stayed in the black. I felt like I had won the game. It was a Friday in October. The air was starting to get that crisp, dry Oklahoma chill. Patricia was humming some pop song while she packed a small overnight bag. She told me she was heading over to her parents' place near downtown Oklahoma City. Her best friend Kelly was having a bachelorette party. Her parents were out in Santa Fe for the week, so the girls were going to use their big penthouse apartment as a base of operations. "It is going to be a total cliché, John," she said, laughing. She was wearing these tiny denim shorts and a tank top that showed off her toned shoulders. "Too many margaritas, bad music, and probably a few secrets we will take to our graves. Do not wait up for me." "Have a blast, Patty," I told her. I reached out and pulled her close. Her skin felt like silk, and she smelled like that expensive coconut oil she always used after a workout. I felt a surge of pride. This was my woman. "Just do not do anything I would not do." "That leaves a lot of room for trouble," she winked. She kissed me. One of those long, lingering kisses that usually meant we were headed for the bedroom. But she pulled away, grabbed her bag, and walked out to her white Lexus RX. I watched her pull out of the driveway, thinking I was the luckiest man in the state. I spent the evening alone. I grilled a ribeye on the back deck, watched the news, and messed around with my new toy. I had just picked up a DJI Mavic 3 Pro drone. I told myself it was for work, taking overhead shots of the dealership for the New Year's Eve sale commercials. But really, I just liked the tech. It had a Hasselblad camera that could see a flea on a dog's back from 500 feet up. Around 9 p.m., the wind died down to nothing. It was a perfect night for a flight. I lived about 15 minutes away from her parents' place. I figured, hey, why not fly the bird over that way? Maybe I could catch a glimpse of the girls dancing on the balcony or acting crazy. It was a stupid, playful thought. I was not checking up on her. I was not a jealous guy. I was just bored and had a high-powered camera in my hands. I prepped the drone on the driveway. The lights flickered green. I hit the takeoff button and watched it scream into the dark sky. I put on the goggles, and suddenly I was floating over Oklahoma City. The lights of the Devon Tower were glowing in the distance. Everything looked peaceful. Everything looked right. I did not know I was about to fly straight into a nightmare. The drone handled like a dream. I pushed the sticks forward and watched the telemetry. It was hitting 35 miles per hour, slicing through the night air. I navigated by the GPS map, heading toward the high-rise district. Patricia's parents, the Millers, had a place on the 20th floor. It was one of those luxury condos with a massive wraparound balcony that overlooked the whole city. I stayed high, maybe 400 feet up. I did not want to be that creepy neighbor buzzing the windows. I just wanted to see the party. I found the building easily. I could see the lights on the 20th floor glowing like a beacon. I hovered the drone about 200 yards away and started to zoom in. At first, I did not see any crowd. No groups of girls in sashes, no loud music vibrating the glass. Just one light on in the main living area. I felt a little pang of confusion. Maybe they had already gone out to the bars in Bricktown? I lowered the drone to 300 feet and moved in closer, circling the balcony. Then, the sliding glass door opened. A woman stepped out. Even through the digital feed, I knew that walk. It was Patricia. She was not wearing the outfit she left the house in. She was wrapped in a white hotel-style bathrobe, and her hair was a mess. She leaned against the railing, looking out at the city lights. She looked beautiful. For a second, I felt guilty for watching her. I was about to turn the drone around when a man stepped out behind her. My heart did a weird little skip. It was not one of her girlfriends. It was a tall guy, broad-shouldered. He walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. He buried his face in her neck. Patricia did not pull away. She leaned back into him, tilting her head to give him more room. I froze. My fingers felt like lead on the controller. I hit the record button. I did not even think about it. It was just instinct. I used the scroll wheel to zoom in more. The image stabilized. The 4K resolution was unforgiving. The man turned his head to kiss her. It was Mark. Mark. My sister's husband, my brother-in-law, the guy I had gone fishing with at Lake Texoma just last month, the guy who sat at my Thanksgiving table and talked about how much he loved my sister Sarah. I felt a coldness spread from my chest down to my toes. It was not a hot rage. It was a freezing, paralyzing clarity. I watched them on that balcony for 10 minutes. I watched him slide his hands inside her robe. I watched her turn around and press herself against him, her hands wandering through his hair. They were not just hanging out. They were lost in each other. It was an old habit, a rhythm they knew by heart. I did not crash the drone. I did not scream. I just sat there in my dark driveway, my eyes burning behind the goggles, watching my life get torn to shreds in high definition. When they finally went back inside and closed the curtains, I brought the drone back. I landed it perfectly, took the SD card out, and walked into the house. I did not sleep. I sat in my office with a glass of water, watching that footage over and over on my iMac until the sun started to peek over the horizon. I had all the evidence I needed to close the biggest, ugliest deal of my life. Saturday morning was a test of every acting skill I had ever learned. Patricia rolled in around 11:30 a.m., looking refreshed and glowing. She gave me a quick peck on the cheek and started talking about how the girls had stayed up way too late talking about Kelly's wedding nerves. "You should have seen us, John," she said, pouring herself a glass of green juice. "We were like teenagers again. I think I have a headache from all the laughing." I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the faint red mark on her neck that she had tried to hide with concealer. I saw the way she could not quite meet my eyes for more than 2 seconds. She was good, but I was better. "Sounds like a hell of a time," I said. My voice was flat, but she did not notice. She was too busy being the star of her own movie. "Listen, I was thinking, your parents are coming back tonight, right?" "Yeah, they get in around 5 p.m., she said. "Good. I called Sarah and Mark. I told them we should all get together at your parents' place for a big family dinner. My treat. I'll pick up a bunch of catering from the mantel. We can welcome your folks back and just celebrate." She paused, just for a heartbeat. "Oh, Mark and Sarah? Are you sure? Mark said he was feeling a little under the weather this morning. I talked to him an hour ago," I lied, my face a mask of stone. "He said he's feeling much better. A little fresh air and a good steak will fix him right up. Besides, I have a surprise I want to show everyone. A little project I've been working on." She smiled then, that bright, manipulative smile that used to make me do anything for her. "A surprise? I love surprises." "Okay, honey, let's do it." I spent the afternoon making calls, not to the caterers. I called a locksmith. I called a buddy of mine who handles private security. And I called a process server I knew through the dealership. I had a 2 p.m. meeting in a parking lot behind a Hobby Lobby. I handed the guy a thick envelope and a stack of cash. "Tonight at 8 p.m. sharp," I told him. "The address is on the file. Do not be late." "You got it, Mr. Miller," the guy said. I went back home and packed. I did not pack my things. I went into our walk-in closet, the one that cost me $15,000 to remodel, and I started pulling her things. Not everything, just the essentials. Her gym clothes, her designer shoes, her jewelry. I put them into 4 large Samsonite suitcases. I moved them to the garage and tucked them into the back of my Ford F-150. By 6 p.m., we were at her parents' penthouse. The whole family was there. Her parents, looking tan and happy. My sister, Sarah, looking tired but smiling. And Mark. Mark looked like he wanted to jump out of his own skin. He kept adjusting his collar. He kept looking at Patricia, and she kept giving him these tiny, secret smiles when she thought I was not looking. It was sickening. It was like watching a car wreck in slow motion, knowing exactly when the impact was coming. Dinner was a farce. I had ordered the food, and everyone was sitting around the big mahogany table in the dining room. The city lights were twinkling behind the glass, just like they had the night before. "So, John," her father said, lifting a glass, "Patricia says you've got a surprise for us. What's the occasion?" "Well, sir," I said, standing up, I felt a strange sense of calm, the kind of calm you get when the ink is drying on a contract. I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about trust, about the things we do when we think nobody is watching. I saw Mark's hand tremble. He put his fork down. "I've been practicing with my new drone," I continued. I walked over to the large 75-inch Samsung TV mounted on the wall. I plugged in a USB drive. I wanted to capture some memories. You know, things that really show who we are as a family. "Oh, John, you're so sweet," Patricia said, though her voice sounded a little tight. "I try," I said. I hit the play button on the remote. The screen flickered to life. It started with a shot of the skyline. Then the drone descended. It zoomed in on the very balcony we were sitting next to. The quality was staggering. You could see the texture of the bricks. You could see the label on the wine bottle sitting on the outdoor table. And then you could see them. The room went dead silent. It was the kind of silence that rings in your ears. On the screen, Patricia and Mark stepped out into the night air. The camera caught the exact moment he pulled her robe open. It caught the way she laughed and threw her head back. It caught the look of pure adulterous hunger on both their faces. Sarah made a sound, a small, broken whimper. Her parents sat frozen, their faces turning a ghostly shade of gray. I did not look at the screen. I looked at Mark. He was staring at the TV, his mouth hanging open like a landed fish. And then I looked at Patricia. She was not crying yet. She was just staring at me with a look of pure, unadulterated horror. "That was about 10:15 p.m. last night," I said, my voice conversational. right around the time you told me you were talking about wedding flowers with Kelly. Funny how the memory plays tricks on you, isn't it? I walked over to the table and picked up my glass of water. The best part of the video is about 3 minutes in. The zoom is so good, you can actually see the wedding ring on Mark's finger while he's, well, you see it. "John," Patricia whispered. "John, please." "Please what, Patricia? Please show it again. I've got copies for everyone. I already emailed a link to the whole dealership and most of our friends. I figured a love this big should not be kept a secret." The explosion came a second later. Sarah stood up and threw her wine glass at Mark. It shattered against his shoulder, soaking his shirt in red. She started screaming, ugly, guttural sounds of a woman who just had her heart ripped out through her throat. "You son of a bitch!" she shrieked. "With her? With my own sister?" Mark scrambled back, his chair flipping over. "Sarah, wait. It's not what it looks like. It was a mistake. I was drunk." "You did not look drunk on the video, Mark," I said. I stepped around the table. I'm a big guy, and Mark is a runner. He's thin. When he saw me coming, he backed into the corner of the dining room. Patricia was hysterical now, sobbing and reaching for my arm. "John, I love you." He meant nothing. It was just a stupid thing. We were just playing. Playing? I looked down at her. "You were not playing, Patricia. You were replacing me. In your parents' house. With my sister's husband." I turned back to Mark. He was trying to find an exit. I stepped into his path. I did not want to go to jail, but I needed to settle the score. When he tried to push past me, I did not punch him. I just grabbed him by the throat and pinned him against that expensive wallpaper. "You're going to leave," I whispered, inches from his face. "You're going to leave this house, you're going to leave my sister, and if I ever see your face in this zip code again, I will forget that I'm a civilized man. Do you understand me?" He nodded, his eyes bulging. I let go and he stumbled toward the door. "Mark!" Patricia cried out. She ran toward him, her face a mask of desperation. "Mark, do not leave me here. Tell him you're going to take care of me." Mark stopped at the door. He looked at her, and the look on his face was not love. It was pure, freezing hatred. "Take care of you?" he spat. He was shaking, his voice cracking. "You ruined me, Patricia. I had a wife. I had a life. You were just a warm body. I do not ever want to see your face again. You're a snake." He turned and bolted out the door, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the hallway. Patricia stood there, frozen. Her knees gave out, and she collapsed onto the floor. She looked up at her father, her eyes pleading. "Dad? Please." Her father, a man who had worked 40 years in the oil business, just turned his back on her. "Get out of my house, Patricia," he said, his voice trembling. "I did not raise a woman like you. Get out." The drive back to our house was the quietest 30 minutes of my life. Patricia cried the whole way. Not the "I'm sorry" kind of crying. It was the "my life is over" kind of crying. The selfish kind. When we pulled into the driveway of our beautiful suburban home, she started to get out of the car, acting like she was going to go inside and head to bed, like we could just talk about it in the morning. "Where do you think you're going?" I asked. "John, please, I just need to sleep. We can figure this out. We can go to counseling. I'll do anything." "The figuring out is done," I said. I hit the button on the visor to open the garage door. I got out of the truck and walked to the back. I dropped the tailgate. There were her 4 suitcases. "Your things are right here," I said. I grabbed the first 2 and set them on the concrete. then the other two. I took the liberty of packing your essentials. The rest will be on the curb on Monday morning for the Goodwill truck. You cannot do this, she screamed. This is my house too. Actually, it's not, I said, pulling a folded set of papers from my pocket. Remember that prenup your father insisted on because he thought I was a gold digger back in the day? Section 4, paragraph 2. Infidelity nullifies your claim to the primary residence. And here, a car pulled up to the curb. A guy in a plain suit got out. It was my process server. He walked up the driveway, handed her a thick blue folder and said, "Patricia Miller, you've been served." She looked at the papers like they were written in an alien language. "Those are divorce papers," I told her. "The locksmith is coming at 8 a.m. tomorrow. I've already contacted the bank and frozen our joint credit cards. You have your personal savings account, which should be enough for a few months at a Motel 6. "John, you cannot be this cold," she sobbed, clutching a suitcase. 12 years! We had 12 years! We had a lie for 12 years, I said. I felt nothing. No pity, no sorrow. Just the relief of a weight being lifted. You wanted to be with Mark. Go find him. Oh, wait. He's broke and hates you. Guess you'll have to find a new gym to haunt. I stood on the porch and watched her struggle to load those heavy suitcases into her Lexus. She was weak. All that fitness did not help her lift the weight of her own consequences. She kept looking back at me, hoping for a flicker of hesitation. She did not find any. She finally got the last bag in, slammed the trunk, and started the engine. She sat there for a minute, probably realizing she had nowhere to go. Her parents would not take her. Mark was gone. Her friends would see that video by morning. She was a pariah in a town that does not forgive that kind of betrayal. She drove away, the taillights of her Lexus disappearing around the corner. I walked back into the house. It felt bigger. It felt cleaner. I went into the kitchen and grabbed a trash bag. I went through the fridge and threw out all her kale, her specialized proteins, her couples vitamins. I went into the bathroom and cleared her shelf. I did not do it with anger. I did it with the efficiency of a man clearing a lot for new inventory. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I had a lot of work to do. I needed to call Sarah again and make sure she was okay. I needed to hire a good lawyer to finish what I started. But first, I opened the drone footage one last time. I did not watch the affair. I watched the very beginning, the shot of the Oklahoma City skyline. It was a beautiful city, a place where a man could start over if he had the guts to cut away the rot. I hit the delete key. File deleted, the computer chirped. I closed the laptop, went upstairs, and slept better than I had in a decade. The deal was closed, the trash was out, and tomorrow was going to be a hell of a day to sell some trucks. The hero's fatal mistake was not his capacity to love. It was his refusal to verify what his intuition was already whispering. He ignored the subtle shifts in behavior because the truth was too painful to accept until it was caught on camera. My advice for anyone in this position: first, never underestimate the power of a legally binding prenup, as it was his only shield when the storm hit. Second, when trust is shattered, do not look for explanations. Look for an exit strategy that protects your dignity and your assets. How would you have handled a betrayal from someone so close to your family? Write your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more honest case studies on modern relationships.